Right. Paul, McGuire, Grimes, ABC, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Nev, Finn, it is so great talking to both of you today. I really love this movie, and I'm not one to cry at movies for some reason, but you all broke me. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank
Nev,
you.
I want to start with you. When actors make movies based on true stories, you don't always get to meet the person that you're playing. And I know that you got to meet Laura. So how beneficial was that in portraying Laura?
It was incredible to have time with Laura and to get to know her. I had read her book before committing to this story, and she's just so courageous and strong and spiritual and profound, this woman. And I certainly knew that I wanted to get it right for her. And she was just, she was just so open about it. It's got to be a scary thing to have people tell your story for you, right? But she and Rob and the family and friends were also open about sharing their stories with us and telling us how they felt about things. I would text or call Laura the night before doing certain scenes to make sure I could get it right. And how did you feel in this moment? And she could have been the other way and felt like she didn't want to engage in that story again, but she was so open to the creative process with me, which I was so grateful for.
That's incredible to hear. Now, you both were in Minnesota last year for the Clouds Choir concert at the Mall of America. What was that experience like for both of you?
It was beautiful. I actually got to share that experience with not only the Sobiech family and everyone who the movie is based on, but my family got to attend. And having that weird full circle moment where we were all interacting and singing Zach's song filled me with so much joy. And there were tears from everyone. It was a moment where I could feel the room just buzzing with this joy and love. It was so special. And then, the confetti falls down and it just feels surreal. That event is just an incredible moment, and I think that happens year after year. Zach's magic permeates through time and space, and everyone's constantly reconnecting with this universal love that he inspires.
Nev, what about you? How was that for you?
It was profound. I mean, it was just beautiful. I think that the millions of people who now follow Zach's story, who have connected to this boy who has taught us all how to live in the moment and be present and live with joy and choose our story, whether we know it's going to be short or long. The kinds of people who are connecting and celebrating him are the kinds of people who are looking for joy and kindness in humanity. You know what I mean? I think the kinds of people who are connecting to Zach's story are those people who are out there looking for positivity, kindness, generosity, and so it felt that in the mall, those kinds of people, there were thousands of them, all coming together to celebrate a boy who helped us. And it was incredible. And we need that right now, don't we? Right?
We need all sorts of positivity and kindness and love and hope. And I think that this movie brings all of that to it. Nev, you've done so many memorable roles in movies and TV, which I'll talk about later. But how often do projects like this come along that are so moving and so special?
It's so rare. It's very, very rare. My team weren't certain that I should do this job. I can't remember their reasons, but I remember calling them and saying, you guys, this is important. This movie is important. This story is important. This boy, this family are important. And it's so rare that scripts come along where you can actually maybe have an effect on people in a positive way and celebrate kindness, joy, love, those kinds of things, growth, maturity, wisdom. It's very rare that you find a script and a story that's going to accomplish that. So to me, it was really, really important to be a part of it, and such an honor to be a part of it.
Finn, how does Zach still inspire you?
Zach's spirit and message is with me every single day. He's all about living for today. And then there's the phrase that he said, you don't have to find out you're dying to start living. And even in my personal life, that message has been so profound. And throughout the last year, my family was going through a struggle that echoed Zach's difficult experience. And my Aunt Charisse was fighting her battle with brain cancer. And having his message of hope and strength in the face of looming adversity and like having to face mortality, it gave me a new perspective on grief and loss, and helped me remember that that love doesn't go anywhere. You know, no matter what, her love is still with me. Zach's love is still with me. I feel deeply connected to him, and I feel him every day. I feel him and my share in the little things. You know, when I see a bird flying in the sky, that's just like perfectly in my line of vision, flying into the sunset. I'm like, that's special. That's love. You know, it's just the little moments. And I think I pay a lot more attention to those things now because of Zach's story and the mark that he's left on me. And I'm sure he will continue to leave on millions of people after this movie's released, and he'll keep on finding new ways to manifest that love. It just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. And he's raising money for his fund, the Zach Sobiech Osteosarcoma Fund. And hopefully we can help end children's cancer. I mean, it's a big dream, but that's what Zach was about, and that's what we're trying to do.
I think you will. And now that this is going to be on Disney Plus, for really the world and the nation to see, it will only help benefit and tell his story. It was so great talking to both of you today. What a treat. Nev, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you how excited I am for Scream 5. Knowing that you are back is just giving me all the feels. So thank you for that. Love it. So, Madison and Sabrina, it is really great talking to both of you today. I really love this movie. I don't typically cry at movies, but y'all got me to break many, many times throughout. So thank you for that.
Thank you. You're not special. We all cried like too much. I mean, you are special. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean? It is. Yeah. I'll be surprised if people don't.
Right.
I'm gonna stop doing interviews.
You both were here in Minnesota for the Clouds Choir concert at the Mall of America last year. What was that experience like for both of you?
People like prepared me for it, but I don't think they could nearly for what happened. Like I was not expecting any of that. Just the energy and all the people who showed up. It was just so emotional and incredible. Nothing would have prepared me for that, I don't think at all. And just to be there with the whole family, and everyone was so nice to bring us up on stage and really allow us to be a part of the whole thing. It's so special. It's really incredible to see what Zach has done, you know, still to this day and continues to do.
Exactly the same. I mean, the way that Zach's family and friends have invited us into their lives and into telling this story and kind of adding us to their past and their future. I mean, it's a really incredible bond that we were all able to create, and getting to be there. I know I've been to Mall of America quite a few times and performed, but that was by far the most special experience that I'd ever had there. And the fact that people have been coming together for years to do that in his honor. And also just, you know, I think the story is about to be heard and seen by so many more eyes that might not know his story, and I think could really use it during this time.
Now, you guys got to meet Sammy and Amy going into this. What did you take away from meeting them?
I mean, they were our rocks during this entire thing. I mean, both Amy and Sammy, but just the whole family in general. Finn and I took a trip to Zach's old house, and they just kind of opened their homes to us. We really just sat in the basement, played games, just hung out like old friends. Amy shared so many stories, shared letters that her and Zach had written, you know, throughout their entire relationship. And I mean, she was always there to call in the middle of the night when I just had a question while we were filming, and on set when they actually were there. It was just nice having them around the whole time.
I mean, it's different when you're playing a character where you're like, well, this is purely coming from my imagination. I trust that I'm building this person's personality traits. And we were able to be like, oh, like I have literally a human, you know, book to read right here, and just really study and get to, you know, ask them questions and talk to them about Zach's impact on their lives, but also them as individuals and their perspectives of how this story kind of happened. Because they all have different, you know, they all tell the story differently, which I think is really interesting. And then kind of having to put that together into one version of telling the story from, you know, obviously Zach's perspective is really special. And it gives you chills throughout the whole thing. I think the music makes it really, really special. But Sammy and Amy are beautiful people. They're so talented in their own ways. And to get to play them was very special, but to get to become friends with them was even better.
Are there parts of Zach's story, his messages, that you still carry with you today?
Yeah, absolutely. I keep quoting Sabrina because I love that she said this. There was
before clouds and an after clouds.
DC and AC.
I mean, he completely changed our lives, and we never got the chance to meet him. But being surrounded by everyone who did get to know him, and even Justin, there's no one who could have directed this movie, I think, other than him, because he did have that personal relationship with him, and it just made it that much more special. I mean, I'll never go back to looking at the world like I did before. Life is just so precious, and there's so much to be grateful for, and there's so much good in the world that I think this movie has a huge message for everyone, especially right now.
I mean, exactly that. The fact that he was 17, he's like, you don't need to know you're dying to start living. I was like, are you Buddha? Like, he was so insightful and just so positive and carried so much optimism for such a young person. And obviously the musical side is a whole other thing. Like the fact that he was able to create a physical thing that outlived him and that now has inspired so many people, me being one of those people, is really special. And obviously credits to Justin, because we had a big cast, and this story, there's a lot of things to establish and a lot of relationships to establish believably and within a short period of time. And I think that just gives credit to him as a director, but also how invested he was in telling this story the right way. I think, it shows in the final product, and we're grateful that we got to be a part of that.
I mean, I think it completely shows. And you could tell that Justin had great care with telling all of the stories and all the different relationships well. It wasn't just about the music or the relationship with Amy or dying or what, like it was so well balanced. And he really captured Minnesota and made it so authentic to who we are as people and his story. Like, I really love that about it. What do you want teens, families to take away if they've never heard Zach's story? They're discovering on Disney Plus for the first time, which I think is such a great venue for this movie.
There's so much to take away, and everyone will hopefully take away something different. But I think especially now during this time, appreciate the present moment and make the most of it. I think that there's so many layers to Zach and his story, but I would say that gratitude and loving the people that love you and making every day count is a really, really important message.
Yeah. I think love a lot, laugh a lot, and just hug your family a little tighter.
I love that. That's a perfect way to end this. So thank you so much. Thank you both for being a part of the story and telling Zach's story. We all truly appreciate it here in Minnesota. So thank you.
Oh, nice outfit, man.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you. Paul McGuire Grimes, ABC, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Now, Justin, it's really great talking to you today. Now, I don't normally cry at movies, but you really broke me with Zach's story with Cloud. So thank you for that experience.
Thank you for admitting you cried. I think that's very masculine of you. I appreciate that, man. I think all of us men could use a little more tears these days.
For sure. And to be open to that kind of mental release and physical release, because I think there's that stigma of holding things in when we shouldn't have to.
Exactly. You're man enough.
Yeah, I know that. What was that?
You're man enough to cry.
Exactly. I know that you've been wanting to tell Zach's story and make this movie for a long time. When did you know that this was a story that you wanted to tell?
I would say the first time I FaceTimed with Zach before I ever made his documentary. I knew that there was something unique and special. He was such a joyful, happy, goofy kid. And I just had this feeling. I can't explain it, except it was the knowing. It was a feeling. It's like, when you meet somebody and they're your person, or know that they're going to be in your life. It was like this knowing that this is how I was going to spend the next, it turned out to be 7 years of my life. He was the right person to dedicate my time and my energy into helping tell his story, for sure.
What did it mean to have his family involved in this movie, and what did they bring to the overall set and the vibe of making it so authentic?
Well, look, this movie, this is a Minnesota movie. I mean, this is a Minnesota story. I tried so hard to shoot it in Minnesota, but unfortunately we had to go to Minneapolis to Montreal for tax reasons. But, at the end of the day, it was so important for me to bring in all of the people that were a part of Zach's life. Like, look, Zach was an amazing kid, but a huge part of his journey and his story is that he was the sum of his parts. He was like, everybody coming together is what also made him magical and great. It was all the help from the local people and from the radio and, you know, the family. So it was, he was amazing, but the people around him and the community were amazing. So it only made sense to make this movie to have them be a part of it. Like, who am I? Some, you know, guy from LA going to go make this movie and think I know what's best? No. So Laura had to be a part of it. Rob, Sammy, Amy, all of them were a part of not just the making of the movie, but the crafting of the story. They got to see the scripts as they were being written. They got to be a part of the entire process. They got to be a part of the casting process. I was not going to cast this movie without their blessing on these actors. So they got to see the audition tapes, right? Laura, I showed Laura Finn and I said, Laura, what do you think? Is this our guy? And she said, yeah. And then I knew it was. Same thing with Amy and Sammy, even down to introducing the cast to them before we made the movie, because they had to meet, they had to become friends. They had to share that energy with each other. And then we even shipped half of Zach's room to Montreal. So when you watch the movie, that's Zach's real stuff in the movie.
That's
amazing. Not only that, Finn wore Zach's clothes. I wanted this to be as real as possible. Go ahead.
Well, there's that shot of him in the recording studio recording the song. And I was like, that is the shot of like how he did it.
But the thing is, he's wearing Zach's shirt, and I wanted it. Look, there's an energy that look, nobody really cares when they watch a movie, but I believe it's the thing. It's what made like my grandma's cooking so good. She made it with love. It's why it was better than what the restaurants made. She made it with intention and with love and with sincerity to please me and to be of service to me. So taking like Zach's shirt, putting it on Finn, putting it in the movie and having him perform Clouds and make that music video, just like that's the kind of stuff that it's intangible and it hopefully will go through the screen.
Oh, it completely does. And I think that's what makes the movie so realistic. And that's why you buy into it so much more than another teen story. And knowing that like you made it feel so Minnesotan, going even down to calling out KS95, which has been such a huge part of the story.
You ready? Hold on. That's actually Dan Seaman's voice from KS95. Yeah. So the voices, that's Dan and the DJ, they're on, like, those are the people that actually brought Zach's story to life. Like, these are the most important parts of it. So it's real. I mean, and yeah, because you can't tell the story without Minnesota. Mm-hmm. You can't do it. And I wasn't going to do that. So
I love that. What do you want teens to take away from this movie that is different than just your other standard YA, or, you know, you made 5 Feet Apart, which is somewhat similar to this movie, but what do you want teens to take away that's different for this movie?
Look, this movie is not about sickness. It's not about cancer. It's not about death. This movie is about choosing life. It's about choosing love. It's about choosing joy. And it's what Zach says at the end of the movie. You don't have to find out you're dying to start living. It's what he told me when I was in his living room when I made the original documentary. But it's also about making people happy. And I want teens to know that life is going to be hard. It's not easy, right? None of us get out of this thing alive, but we all have a choice while we're here, and we can choose joy and love and hope. We can choose to, you know what? I'm not going to take that personally. You know what? That person's hurting my feelings. Maybe they're dealing with something that I don't know about. Maybe there's a battle that they're fighting that I don't know about. I'm going to be extra compassionate today. They can choose love. Amy knew that Zach only had months to live, and yet she chose to love him. She knew she was going to be in pain at the end of it. She walked into it instead of running away from it, which is what so many young people do. Life is about the choices that we make. So I hope this movie inspires young people and older people, not just young people, to make choices and remember that what some of us take for granted, others are fighting for. Make the choice to live for today.
Well, thank you. That is incredible. Thank you so much for making this movie, getting Zach's story out there, and making it feel really real, which I think is so important. So thank you.
An honor. Thank you, Minnesota, for lifting Zach up and for making it possible for me to make this movie.